So many people screw up doing PC build shopping on Amazon Prime Day. For one thing, sometimes the best deals are posted before Prime Day actually begins. A lot of times they're not actually on Amazon, and oftentimes what seems like a great deal isn't. So I'm gonna help you out with my top picks I've found, as well as how to make sure you're actually getting a reasonable deal. Let's start with this. So if you're looking for good deals on PC parts, honestly, a lot of the components haven't been super exciting lately. Like GPU generations are better each generation, but not by as much as we used to get. One of the places where the most exciting changes have taken place is actually monitors, where specs that used to be like crazy high-end are now extremely affordable. For example, if you're looking for an extremely high refresh rate, like 300 hertz can be overclocked to 320 hertz, IPS, so we're not talking TN or like ghosty VA panels, 1440p, a 27-inch monitor, like honestly, all the specs you're looking for. With this $40 off coupon code brings us down to about $230. That's a pretty great deal, but again, if the monitor's actually good, can you trust the specs? So I did look up an actual review of this, and it did review well at Display Ninja, with their bottom line being a 4.6 out of 5, saying if you want a 27-inch 1440p IPS gaming monitor with a high refresh rate and vibrant colors, the KTC Age 2076 is the best value option thanks to its 320 hertz, fully ergonomic and a plethora of features, etc. The point is that this is a well-reviewed monitor that has all the specs you're looking for at about $230. It's pretty cool. 300 hertz, guys. If you're doing esports stuff, that's pretty great. Except, wait, is it actually a good deal, right? So I do always want to mention that you should look into Amazon pricing history, because on Amazon sales, sometimes they'll show some big mark off, but then if you check its pricing history, they just raised the price for a month and then lowered it again back to normal. Or sometimes the worst stuff is when it's actually above its normal pricing. It's crazy. Anyway, what we can see here, though, is that this has occasionally blipped down to $215, which is slightly lower than this deal with the coupon code. But generally what you can see is the deal you can get today at $230 is much better than this normally is, even if it has occasionally blipped just slightly lower. So you can be confident that you're actually getting a pretty good value here. Now, I was looking to see if there's any good GPU deals to pair with this, and this is where I wanted to mention that sometimes the best Prime Day deals aren't even on Amazon Prime because other retailers try to compete. So, for example, I couldn't find a great deal on like a 9070 XT on Amazon right now, but at Newegg, I could find it in stock at $700, which isn't like mind-blowing, but is much better than where this has been priced. And by going with this AMD option, I was looking at the kind of NVIDIA counterpart, which is the 5070 Ti. The lowest price I could find on that today is $830. So at $130 off, you might consider the AMD option here. You can look up into more dedicated GPU reviews if you want more thoughts on this. And if you are looking for NVIDIA options, again, couldn't find that great of an option on Amazon. For example, the lowest price 5070 I could find on Amazon is like $610. But if I switched over to Best Buy, I could find the same model for $550. And again, this is available for shipping. Sometimes the lowest price ones I see on Best Buy are only available for in-store pickup, so it doesn't really work worldwide, but this one does. Anyway, so those are some things to look out for, but also check this out. I often get asked, Daniel, how do you do all this cool flying around green screen business in your videos? And the answer is you need a good camera going through a program like OBS. Let me show you what that looks like here, and it needs to be able to do like a chroma key filtering out the green screen. Here's what's really going on around me right now, but the key is the camera itself needs to be high quality for this to work well, and also the Tiny SE that I'm using here has some amazing features like this AI auto tracking. Look at that zoom. The Obsbot Tiny SE builds on the success of the Tiny 2 and Tiny 2 Lite with the same sleek design and the amazing 2-axis gimbal system with AI auto tracking with auto zoom, but comes in at a much lower price point thanks to targeting 1080p 100 FPS or 720p 120 FPS rather than 4K 60. This is perfect for streamers and others targeting greater motion clarity for fast-paced action. The AI auto tracking is seriously impressive stuff. It can easily follow me around my room and be turned on and off with simple gesture controls. You can even ask it to zoom in and out. I was blown away by how well this worked out of the box, but if you download the Obsbot Center app, you get access to even more incredibly powerful options, including body part tracking, where it can follow just your upper body, just your lower body, everything but your head, or a close-up close-up on your face. You can also preset zones, define which ones have auto-tracking on and off, and even support up to 4 Obsbot webcams, which is an amazing tool for streamers with multi-camera setups. Want the Tiny SE to be a 120 FPS face cam for streaming, but also switch to your 4K Tiny 2 Lite for a close-up of your desk? Obsbot has all of this covered and more. There's so much more I could tell you about the Tiny SE, like the great low light performance, but to learn this and so much more, check out the sponsored link in the video description and or pinned comment. I highly recommend Obsbot cameras, and a huge thanks to Obsbot for sponsoring this video. If you are putting together a PC build right now, you do need to think about your CPU, and actually on some of these early Prime Day deals, I'm finding really good CPU options. Now I'm gonna give a variety of choices here and kind of describe what sort of build they make sense in. If you're just looking for a fairly solid value and solid performer, but not like absolutely ridiculously high-end and kind of overspending on a lot of things, a Ryzen 5 9600X CPU is a great choice, and it's currently on sale for $165. Now again, we always want to be careful, is that really a good deal? So if we check Amazon pricing history, you can actually see that these things launched well over $270, came down to around the $250 mark for quite a while, dropped a bit, went up a bit, kind of stayed around that, didn't get much lower than $220 for a while, and then it has been under $200 a couple of times. But you can see that it has only recently dropped as low as about $170 to $175, and then today is even a little bit below that at $165. Now this deal does require Prime. Not all of the Prime Day deals, Prime deals do, or the ones on the other sites. I can probably find a free trial Prime link that I could post for you in the video description or pinned comment or something like that. But anyway, that does seem to be a good price on a very solid gaming CPU. Now, if you do want to go even higher end on that though, you might be looking at like the 9800X 3D, but I would actually steer you towards a really good deal I found on the previous generation 7800X 3D. Now, if you're not up to date on CPU reviews, if we pull up like gaming performance from Tech Power Up when they reviewed the 9800X 3D, which is the current highest performing gaming CPU, notice that in gaming workloads, they had the 7800X 3D reaching 92.7% of the performance. So it's basically within 10% of the performance of the current highest end gaming CPU. But it's doing it at a much more significantly discounted price right now. So if we look at this at $341, I'm not going to try to convince you this is some budget gaming CPU. Like I said, I think for most builds, the 9600X is more appropriate. But the 7800X 3D for a high-end build is currently offering some a pretty good value, because if you look at its pricing history, yes, it has blipped as low as $320 extremely briefly, but you can see that it spent the vast majority of its recent lifestyle well above the $350 line. So you can, and again, like for a lot of this time, it's well above $400. So this is, at least in recent history, the best price available on Amazon. And again, like I said, it's closing in on the 9800X 3D in performance. It's not that wide of a performance gap. Now, for people who are doing more of a productivity-focused build, or you do gaming, but you also do a lot of actual work, where you want heavily multi-threaded stuff, then actually the 9950X is one of the top performers, and it's also well above its normal pricing. Now again, these Prime Day deals try to make it seem better than they really are, because yeah, okay, you can say the list price is $650, but that doesn't mean it's actually been recently available only at $650 and you're just now getting it down to $434. You do need to be cautious with that. So if we check Amazon pricing history on this, we can see that recently it's been as low as about $517, and then recently spiked back up, again, usually to then claim a bigger discount than it's actually getting, right? But still, the lowest price on Amazon I'm seeing listed here is $517. And so $434 certainly is a good deal on this. Now again, when should you get a 9950X instead of like that 9600X or the 7800X 3D? Well, like I said, this makes sense if you're doing a lot of productivity stuff, because if we look at gaming performance, we can see that the 9950X only reaches 84% of the performance of the 9800X 3D, and again is also slower than the 7800X 3D. But because the 9950X has 16 cores, if you're looking at productivity performance, we can see that in application performance, the 9950X is actually above stuff like the 9800X 3D and the 7800X 3D. In fact, it's not even that close. And really the only chip that would be better all-rounder for gaming and productivity would be the 9950X 3D, where one of the cores, one of the CCUs, 8 of the cores, have the 3D V cache, which makes it so good at gaming. So the point is, the 9950X is a solid gaming CPU that is also in an absolute top-end, productivity option. Whereas if you're just gaming focused, the 7800X 3D is better at just gaming and costs less. And if you just want good gaming performance without breaking the bank, that's where I think this 9600X deal makes a lot of sense. Now, if you are putting together a PC build, you might be looking for a case to put them in, and I've got a couple of options. This first option is not gonna fit everybody, okay? This is a mini ITX PC case, meaning this is designed to make an extremely small gaming PC. You need to make sure that your motherboard would be compatible in a mini ITX build, okay? That being said, there's a $15 off coupon right now. And yes, I say coupon, not coupon. You can just deal with that. Anyway, at $68 minus 15 gets you down to $53. Now, they say that the list price of this case is like $110. That's not necessarily been the price it's been listed at. I would say $80 is a more typical price, with some dips to a little bit over 60 occasionally. We see one brief blip down to 50, so we're within $3 right now of the lowest price ever, and you can see that that was an extremely rare deal. So this is a much better deal than is a typical price on it. And also I want to mention that this case is about to disappear once I think they sell out of supply. I've seen articles that this popular mini ITX option is getting replaced with a version 2. But the problem is the version 2, from what I can see, is gonna have a list price of $140. So even if it's discounted, it's probably not gonna be down to $53 anytime soon. But also the version 2 only supports vertical GPU mounting, whereas this original version does support horizontal mounting up to 330 millimeters, which is actually a pretty long, it's not gonna fit every GPU, but it can fit a lot of the pretty big GPUs into this case despite being so small. So if you're into a mini ITX build, this is a very good price on a good option that is going to disappear soon. Now, if you're not looking for a mini ITX build, but you still don't want something that's absolutely massive, I also found a pretty good deal here on the NZXT H5 Flow, although it does seem like it's just the white version that has the lower price. Let me check if the black version is also this price. No, the black version's up at $95. So if you're either trying to go with the white build, which, by the way, this ASRock Steel Legend 9070 XT, white GPU. So this could actually potentially pair well, guys. By the way, if you look at my 9070 XT reviews, it is the ASRock Steel Legend. And it does, and I actually have a white case in my benchmarking PC, and it does look pretty nice. Anyway, so you could potentially be looking at a pretty cool white build with some of these deals. Anyway, so this case is an ATX mid-tower, so it's not absolutely massive, but we could fit in some larger parts and not have to be quite so careful on that selection, but still not be like huge and taking up way more space than it needs to. This also comes with 120 millimeter fans. I always recommend, for budget reasons, buying a case that already has a couple of fans included, because they're going to be able to get a much better bulk deal on those fans than you would if you buy a case separately and fans separately. So again, at $60, is this better than usual? Again, they say list price $95. Okay, but what does it actually usually sell for? Well, actually, some of the time it is up at that $95 price, although it is discounted below that. But $60 is the lowest price I have seen listed on the Amazon price history. So it seems like it's actually a legitimate deal here. Anyway, as we get into actual Prime Day, which we're not quite there yet, I'll see if I find any other deals and maybe we'll get a follow-up video, or sometimes I just do community page posts. So if you stay tuned to the channel, sometimes I just post deals I find there. So stay tuned to that. Don't forget about that awesome webcam deal from Obsbot. Again, I think that really makes a lot of sense and a really cool like streaming setup, that kind of thing. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an excellent day.